Hi, this is Ed Rising, and welcome back to another episode of Ed's Pop-O-Matic podcast, a retro pop culture podcast where everything retro beats the new if you keep it in your heart. And today, very much in my heart, is a very special guest. Now, I know I say that about all my guests. All my guests are very special, but this one here in particular, very, very special. So an extra very, and underline the whole bit. Um, my very first friend, the very talented actress Therese McLaughlin, is our guest today, and Therese is featured in the new Amazon Prime animated film Merry Little Batman, and here she is to talk about it. Say hello, Therese. How are you?
Hi, Ed. I'm good. I am good, and I do love that you are my first friend,
Right,
like first friend in the world of they say that your cousins are and your siblings are your first friends, but
right.
you're my first friend that I wasn't related to, and we lived across the street from
We lived
each
across
other
the street from each other.
when
It's
we were
amazing.
little people kids. And first friend,
It
and
was.
then
It's very sweet, right?
I
Very
know,
sweet
and
memory.
back in touch through the magic of the internets, and
Right on.
then we saw each other when you were out here a few years ago, and you met my husband, and oh my God, that just makes
Yeah.
my heart
That was just a
full.
magical trip for me and my sister. And getting a chance to meet you and Adam was just
Oh,
fantastic.
yeah,
So it's really
best.
great to see you again tonight. And so Therese is featured in this film, Little Mary Batman, uh, which in which she plays the part of Poison Ivy, one of the several uh, super villains in this animated movie, and it's
Soup.
quite a lot of fun. I got a chance to see it last night, and I wanted to give a chance to talk to Therese because in this movie she's not acting physically, but she's acting with her voice, which is I think probably one
I'm
of
still
your greater talents.
mm, I'm still
One of
futzing
your Oh, you're still
there.
futzing with the lighting.
That okay, if it stays like that, that's better. Okay,
That is
yeah.
good. So, as a voice actress, Therese is very talented, and she does many things, audio books, and she's done quite a few bit of film. So, I'd like to ask you, Therese, if you could give us a little background as to how it came about that you could use your voice in acting and some of the processes involved in acting on your own. Because I imagine that's part of the process, right? You're acting on your own. You're not working with other people.
When you're in voice acting,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's kind of the weirdest thing about a lot of voice acting is much like a writer, I guess. You spend a lot of your time alone. I spend a lot of my time alone in this very room, in this booth. And even when I go into a studio to record, everybody else is there
Mhm.
talking, having coffee, and I'm there in the little booth locked away. Um, but so you were asking what was it about how I started with voice
Well,
act?
how did you find that that was an area of your of talent for you?
Yeah, gosh, I guess I started on stage, I and and I had a lot of vocal training. I was a singer and I danced and did da 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 da, da and hurt my body a lot. But when a number of, I don't know, many years ago, I just decided I wanted to give it a try because people say, everybody says, oh, I want to try that. Or if they hear you speak and they like your voice, they say you should try voice acting. And um so I started, I just did a couple classes, and it was and it was well over 20 years ago, but I did like a class just to do it to see if I what I felt like.
Mhm.
And it was like the skies opened up overhead, like there was just a moment where I felt really at home. I had to go through some of the sort of personal um like as an artist, as an actor, and anybody who puts themselves out there, you have to kind of get over your own personal cringe at yourself. Hearing myself back on, you kind of at first are like, "Ugh." um,
Yes.
so I had to, I worked through that, but once I started getting through that and got some technique under my belt and got some practice under my belt and started learning to use my voice in the way that served whatever I was voicing, then it got better and better and better. And then I had a little bit of beginner's luck and got cast in some video games kind of right off the bat, which was shocking and fantastic. Um, my very first big voiceover job was World of Warcraft. That was like my first. I'm a bunch of voices in that, and I love that. I love working for Blizzard, and through the years, because World of Warcraft never ends, I've gone back and done other characters. Then they come to me and they're like, "Here's 10 characters. Can you just do all of these?" And I've been monsters and ogres and and then fairies, and then so because I love it, because I love it so much. I just
That's
really
great.
then I
And when you
yeah
talk about video games, you don't necessarily appreciate it because I mean, I don't play a lot of video games myself, but my
I don't
nephews do. And so they're on it all the time, and I been able to enjoy seeing the work that's involved, the art that's involved in putting this together, the music that's involved. That's really interesting. And then put the voices into it and the storylines and so forth. And so it's a whole
oh
side
yeah
of filmmaking, really,
that
that
world
is might be underappreciated.
that world, the technical world behind what we do as actors, the artists, that I completely just fangirl over. The worlds that they create, and uh the characters that they build. And then as an actor, going into it, when they say, you're a monster, you're gonna, you're a 150-foot monster made out of rock, which I am. And and but then in seeing the visuals, because I don't really play them either. I'm not of that sort of general. I didn't really get into those. And I've had people try to teach me, and I just get killed over and over, and then I cry and but the demands for the voice actors on for a lot of those games, especially if you do monsters and ogres and things like that, you have to really be careful of your voice, because you can blow it out really easily.
Yeah.
And so I will try, if I have something like that, I'll try and I'll try and make sure that my schedule around it is clear, because I might have a really froggy voice the next day, or
Yeah,
feel.
sure. I'd imagine that.
Yeah.
Right.
So that is one of the aspects of what I do. And then audiobooks, I just I just decided I wanted to do that. Then I got into, very fortunately, I do audio. Did we talk about the audio description when I saw you? I don't know if we did.
You did, yes, yes. In fact, I wanted to ask you a little bit about. I noticed that you did just with the audiobooks, just as like because you said narration. Um, I was just the other night I watched the Bridget Jones Baby movie.
Right.
Okay, it's been out for quite a few years, but I
Yeah.
had never seen it. And I was just checking the credits, and I saw that you were in the sound on that, and you do something called audio narration,
Audio description or
audio
audio.
description narration, right?
So yeah, and thank you for asking that, because this has actually really become very close to my heart. Audio narration, audio description. It's I guess the best way I can describe it is that it's closed captioning for the blind and visually impaired. Um, so essentially, when you turn on your television and say you turn on Netflix, and suddenly a voice comes out and it says red letters appear over a white background, and you're like, what is that? Why is that? What? That's what I do. That's and you're like, how do I turn that off? Why is that thing talking to me? That is audio narration. And so what it is there's a script written for the film or television show or whatever it is, that I will be in a booth, and while the show is playing, we are recording. I'll read the narration, which basically describes the necessary action. So someone who is either blind or doesn't see, or has low vision, or a lot of people who are just in another room that are listening to a show, they'll listen to the audio description, so they can, if
Yeah,
they can just follow along while they're doing something else.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
And so it's basically like closed captioning for the blind or for people with low vision. So I've
That's very
gone
interesting.
to conferences for the American Council on the Blind a few times and done the audio description narrator workshop. We've been working, they also have been working really, really hard to have it recognized and have it more mandated, because it really wasn't. And there's no
Yeah,
reason. Their access should be for everyone.
sure.
And people who are low vision or blind watch, and we do say watch as much television, go to the movies, enjoy the same stuff we do, so it should be accessible. I
Absolutely.
also, so right now I do some reality shows. I do The Amazing Race is one of the shows I describe. Um and then um and then last night when Merry Little Batman was on, the next show on the queue on Prime was Candy Cane Lane, the Eddie Murphy movie. I did
Yes.
the narration for that.
Oh,
So
wow.
so I was in Adam was in the bedroom, my husband, and I yelled, I was like, honey, listen, listen. And I turned up the narration really loud to Candy Cane Lane. And he's like, you're the queen of prime. I'm like, yeah, now I have to go take the dog out.
Actually, that's on my list of movies to see this season.
It's really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. So I'm going to enjoy seeing that over the weekend, maybe.
It's really good. So
Uh,
I just want to say one more thing about audio narration.
yeah.
For people who don't know how to find it, when you go, and if you are interested in finding it, or if you have a relative or you yourself just want to see what it's like, if you go into where when you're watching a show, if you go into the menu where you have the languages that you can choose, one of them should be it's English or it's English da da da, but one of them would be English audio description or AD, and
Okay.
that will be the thing that you choose, and that's also how you can turn it off if you don't want to hear someone talking throughout the movie,
Well,
because
that's
not.
good. That's very helpful for anyone in the audience that may be hearing impaired, or like Therese said, just wants to be able to hear the narration. That's a
Yeah,
very good option to be able to
yeah.
check that out. And it's good that you're providing that. So that's very cool. So this movie, Merry Little Batman, it says it's quite a little bit of fun. And Therese does play the character of Poison Ivy, and I have a picture of her here. So I want to see if I can share my screen and show a little picture of Therese here in her big role here. And let's see if we got that out there. And there we go.
They
Hopefully
are.
that's coming up there. And there she is in all her glory. Her deliciously wicked ways as the Poison Ivy villain. And
So great.
helping out this trying to help out Joker
Stealing
and
Christmas. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
stealing Christmas away from New Gotham City and all that. But
Mm-hmm.
it's a fun movie. I'm sure that the younger people will enjoy
Oh,
it very well. I enjoyed it too because I'm old to say I'm a Batman aficionado, but I was a big fan of the original 1966 Batman series with Adam West and Burt Ward and all that was Cesar
mm-hmm.
Romero as Joker and all that.
Oh my gosh.
You know,
Amazing. I
and it's
mean,
nice. Yeah,
we grew up on that.
yeah, yeah.
And they do the da na 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 na.
Right, they pay tribute to it. I like that.
So great. And we won't do any spoilers. We'll be aware of that. It's a
No,
I it's really it's definitely geared for kids, but there was like Adam and I hadn't seen it until last night when everybody, and Adam had my husband asked me to promise to not watch it until he could watch it with me. And we laughed and howled. I mean,
yeah.
I made popcorn, we sat on the couch, and we were both like our jaws were dropping, and how it was really, really funny. And man, the kid who plays Damien, holy mackerel, what a I mean, what a force to be reckoned with. Holy cow. Jonas. And he was extraordinary. So yeah, so it's definitely very family friendly and really, really funny. And it's true to the canon. I know it's true like to the Batman canon, but it's not like dark. It's not Dark Knight stuff. But there was that one sequence that was really scary, that dream sequence thing.
Well,
That
we're not going to give away spoilers, right?
no, but there was a scary part. Yeah, I said that, and
But
then there I go.
it does have elements of the dark Batman, but
Oh, but it
I
was.
think it does play more on the fun Batman
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and just a whole kid's idea about what you want to do when what he wants to do to get to the next step. He wants to be Batman. He wants to be his father, and I think that was beautiful. So
And the
very, very
anime
nice.
style, so cool. That wild, the really, there's a cartoonist that they referenced, Ron Searle, I think, who was like an animator from the 40s, 50s, and he did a lot of cartoons, I think in the Atlantic, with that really long, the very long, odd, ropey kind of bodies. And I just, oh my gosh, it was great. I really enjoyed watching it. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
say
No,
really great, not talking about the fact that I'm in it, but just it was just great to watch as an audience member.
now,
Um,
before when you were doing the audio for it, were you aware of the drawings? Did you have a film to watch or drawing to look at or something like that as you were doing the
when
character?
when I first got the audition for it, I received the rendering for Poison Ivy. Just a rendering of her. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. And then a little character description where they said, it's an aged up version, and it's this and that, and she's been in retirement, da 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 da. So that was all I knew.
Yeah,
And then I did my initial audition, like you do, forgot about it, like you do, because you just
yeah,
have to. And then
sure.
I heard from them again, and that they wanted to hear me again. And I had a callback, but it was a Zoom callback. So there were like, I don't know how many people were in the Zoom thing. And then we did, and then I heard a little while later that I booked it, which I was, my head flew off. I was like, well, how many. Um, but when I went in to do the recording, it hadn't been fully drawn yet. So the first session I went to, we had just black and white drawings and some storyboards up on the monitor for me to look at. And it was during COVID when it first, because this has been going on for a couple of years.
Sure.
So it was just me. It was the whole protocols, and there were some drawings up on a storyboard in front of me, but no one was in the studio with me. Everybody was remote. The second time I went in to do more was this year before the strike, and they had a bit more of it drawn. It was more drawn in, and I got to see some of the actual action. But yeah, yeah,
Now, how
yeah.
much direction is given to you since you're doing so much of this work on your own?
Well, when I say, like, for this on my own means I'm physically alone in a spot, but I'm listening and they're telling me exactly what they want.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I don't, I come in with my sound that they like, that I've created for this, right? I've
Hmm.
come in with where I'm going to place it, what I think, but then I have to kind of like let go of all of that, and then the director, Mike Roth, who's extraordinary, uh gave me direction, and try the line this way, then let's try this, then let's try that. So I would just go through line, and then I would do, we say I'll give you three, meaning you do it three different ways in a row.
Yeah,
And if they
right,
have
right,
what they
right,
want,
right.
right, so we do that. So we are very well directed, and like good direction. But then I get to put my own spin, and then he'll say, then, which I love, they go, well, let's just do one for
Go
fun.
crazy.
Yeah, just do one for fun, which is always my favorite, because then, and a couple of those, like, those got in,
Yeah,
my one
yeah,
for fun,
yeah. Well, that
because they
one
thought,
cackle, I mean, that was
oh,
great. I
yeah,
mean,
we were,
oh
yeah,
man, yeah, that's great.
yeah, those were, so so yes, we are directed in exactly what they want to do, because we don't have the advantage of the whole picture. I don't have the vision at all. I have my little cube, and then they've got all of the other pieces to put together. Um, so they need to fit me with what I bring into what they see as the whole vision. So I'm just a
Yeah,
part, literally, I'm just a cog in the wheel.
sure,
Um,
sure,
and
sure.
then I have to just go in and be really flexible, and be ready to listen and be
Yeah,
able to do what they ask, which,
right. That's a
strangely enough,
challenge for any actor, right? And that's
yeah,
what you got to do. You got to be able to listen and to what everybody's around you telling you, and listening. See, one of the things that from in my brief experience in theater, is being able to listen to other actors and having that opportunity, and that kind of helped me
yeah,
in whatever I was doing. And so when you're doing this kind of thing, you may have the other voices in your head as you're doing it, but it's not quite the same interaction.
Yeah, and right, yeah, it's just sort of a different skill set because um uh, we're not interacting with someone face to face. We're not even interacting with someone vocally. We have to, like I would get this set up and then have to really imagine it and picture it and where am I, what am I doing, and what's the physical effort. There are fight scenes in there and there's that stuff, and I'm standing in a room. There's no one actually, so we have to do
Yeah.
the physical efforts, the punches and getting hit and then getting thrown into a vat and then getting picked up. You have to kind of really dig in for what would that be.
Yeah,
um
yeah, yeah.
and that's the fun. I mean, gosh, it's so much fun.
Oh,
It's
I'm
just,
glad it was so much fun for you,
oh, so.
definitely.
And I have to say, I have to shout out to the everybody on that show, I mean, from Mike Roth to everyone, was incredible. The people were so nice, so generous, so giving, really supportive. Um, and you can tell what the ethos is on a show by when you go in and how the vibe is, and everybody was just so happy and so nice. And I know when I was there for the second time around, it was a really stressful time for them, and I didn't know that. Like, they told me after we were done that it was a really stressful time, but I didn't know that. They were delightful
Yeah.
and you know really, really wonderful. So
Well, that's
mm,
good when you have a good experience like that. And from what
yeah.
I read up on it, I understand that Amazon is looking to do a series of films with Batman, the
Their
animated series, this new series of
series,
animated Batman.
yeah. I don't know a lot about it, except I do know that they've picked it up. um it's called Bat Family, and this was a sort of primer into that world.
Yeah.
So Merry Little Batman will now bring us into the future with the series going forward in Bat Family, but I know nothing else about it. um Truly nothing.
Okay.
I was at the rap party recently, um and they were chatting about it, and and I was just like, do I hear my name anywhere? But uh so I hopefully I will be involved in some capacity, but it's whatever the vision fits, it fits. But I will go
Yeah.
in. I said I will come in and I will do anything. I will audition for anything. I will do any role. I will show up and be the barking dog in the background, should
There
you
you
wish.
go. That's
So
terrific.
yeah.
So I'm really glad to see that that went well. And of course, Therese is a talented actor on stage. You've done considerable theater in LA, and I know
Mm,
back in New York when you had your New York days, but
yeah.
I've been working in on stage in LA and other film and TV roles and so forth. But this is exciting, and particularly after all this business with COVID and now the strike and all that, and hopefully things get back in order again and
Oh,
everybody's working and so forth.
yeah. It was brutal coming out of COVID and then the strike. I mean, the strike had to happen. It just had to happen. We were heading that way. So, but now it's done, and now we're in the holidays, so we're gonna slow down a little bit again.
Good.
But I do have other projects coming up, which is cool.
Was that
There's a movie that I did. Hopefully I will make the final cut. Another thing you never know, but I think I will. It's called Code 3, and it's about a paramedic played by Rainn Wilson. On his last, he's so burnt. This is the log line. I'm not giving anything away that's not out there. He is so burnt out from all the crap that he sees. He can't do it anymore. He's an EMT, and
mm,
it's his last night on the job, and he's training his replacement. And also it's Lil Ray Howery, who's the comedian. He's in it, so he's training his replacement, and we go along with them for the last 24 hours of his shift and all the crazy crap that he sees. And I
yeah?
am in the opening of the movie. I am one of the craziest things that he sees, and during his day. So that is still in post production. I don't know when it's scheduled to release. That was really fun.
Okay.
But the one of the a guy in the scene with me, who plays a young paramedic who decides it's not for him. His name was Xolo, Xolo, and lovely, amazing guy. And I'm like, God, he's so sweet. This kid is great. And then you know, whatever. And then I see this movie Blue Beetle comes out. I'm like, that's Sholo. Sholo's the star of this superhero movie. I was just working with him. He was just like a walk on, you know, couldn't have
It's
been sweeter.
amazing of
Like,
people just pop up somewhere.
it's
You
about
just
to blow
you
up, and
never
like,
know.
and I'm like, gosh, I hope that kid gets some good work. And like a few months later, he's the lead in the movie. I was like, oh, okay, shop choice. But anyway, so that was lovely, and I was so excited to tell him that I just thrilled. But so Rainn Wilson, who was hilarious, very sweet, 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 and Lil Ray Howery. I didn't work with him too much, but we were doing overnight shoots, and those are always their own very special slice of hell because it's
Sure.
over. But that was really fun. You know, it was really fun. So that, and then I did a horror podcast, and it's called The Passage. It's not out yet either, and I don't know where it is, but it's an anthology series where uh people from, I'm trying to say it right, they're characters from history, real characters from history, are taken into this world of horror, and it's where they have died and they are now being escorted to the afterlife by a
Right.
character
Okay.
Barry. That's played by Dan Folger, who you'll know from like Harry Potter, and comic actor, really cool
Okay.
guy. So my character that I was cast as, I auditioned for, was Typhoid Mary.
Okay.
And Mary Mallon, who in reality, she was one of the reasons that typhoid continued to spread in New York, because she was a cook and she was an asymptomatic carrier. Her name
Okay.
was Mary Mallon. She was an Irish immigrant, and she was a kitchen cook. She cooked in people's homes, um, and an asymptomatic carrier, and ended up spreading typhoid. And there's more to her story, but they took her story and turned her kind of into a villain, which I don't. She wasn't, but for this story,
Purposes of the film, yeah.
she kind of did it on purpose, you know. But what was really cool is she's Irish. She's from Ireland. So they needed an Irish accent. So I did an Irish accent. But of course, me being me, I had to really dive. And she's from Northern Ireland. So she's got a real Czech Northern accent. And so, you know, so I had, you know, so I of course went in for a month before I knew I was recording it. I just dove into Northern Irish literature. I listened to audiobooks, all that took place in Northern Ireland. I was just in my head constantly listening and listening. So by the time I got into the booth, you know, and I'd worked on and it was about an hour of material, just me talking. So I made sure that I was really ready. Like I just didn't want to miss a beat. And it went really well. And again, I was in a studio here in LA, and the writer was in Atlanta, I think, and the director was, I'm not sure where he was. Uh, but I don't know when that's coming out.
Now,
But I'm very,
what is it called again? It's horror what?
it's called The Passage. But whenever I look it up, there are other things called The Passage. So, and it's, pardon me, it's for iHeartRadio. Um,
Okay.
so it could come out
So it's a
anytime.
podcast?
It's a horror anthology podcast. Yeah.
Okay, that's
I
really
come
interesting.
out anytime between now and when we're all under the ocean, you know, in 45 years. I don't know. But so that's a kind of other thing that I'm sort of psyched about. And anybody who's an aspiring voice actor too, like stuff that I'm interested in. I love accents and dialects. I love them.
Sure.
Just
You know,
for
you
fun.
mentioned something just a short time ago regards to the research that you did for this Typhoid Mary character. And something that's, I think, escapes a lot of people when they look at what actors do is the time that's taken to research that character
Yeah.
and what that person is all about, where they come from, what that background has been, and how they should present that. And so, yeah, that's a tremendous amount of work.
Yeah.
And so
But that's
that's
fun. Like for me,
interesting.
that's fun.
Yeah,
That's fun for me. It really is though, because especially if you're playing a real person, even though she was fictionalized for the purposes of this show,
yeah,
she lived. You know, she was real.
sure.
Um, her accent was real. It wasn't like I was making up something out of, you know. But then also, even in doing Poison Ivy, like you have to come from. It sounds so cliche and so like stupid actorly, but you have to come from a real place. You
Yeah,
do,
yeah,
because you have to, you do it many times. You have to be grounded. You've got to be, but I talked to, Guillaume Fesquet, who was the designer, the chief art designer who created all the looks. And he and I at the party last week had a talk about how I wanted to know how he approached the drawing. He wanted to know how I approached getting into the character. And I said, you look at it where she's placed vocally. Is she down here? Is it up here? Is it up here? Is it nasal? Is it forward? Is it back? Is it kind of here? All of these things. And then when you have a character that's English is necessarily either accented English, American English, British English, Canadian English, English not as your first language English, accents from around the world English, if she maybe is Russian, could have this accent right here now, and this is good, but all of those things play into where you're going to vocally place your character.
If she herself, the character, is putting on an accent to disguise herself, right? So that comes into it too.
That's a whole thing right there. Like, and where do you slip up a little bit? Where would maybe the character not say, maybe if you're deciding that you're a British spy, and instead of saying, "Oh, I went to my flat," you say "my apartment," and they go, "Ah, you're a spy." You're a spy. So there are fun, really cool things like that to dive into. And I'm very fortunate. I'm very fortunate in that I do, I work in this industry, which is it's rarefied air, man. I pinch myself constantly when I have a job.
I think it's great. And you got all these things that you're doing.
Yeah.
And it must hopefully mean consistent work. And that's good too for
I hope
you.
so. I try to leave every job with everybody's good graces. I talked to a young girl the other night who was talking about starting out in voiceover. And I said, one of the things is be nice to everybody. I mean, in general, but be nice, cut everybody some slack, because you never know what kind of day they just had. You just don't know. And our job is to show up, do a really good job. And every audition, do a really good audition, even if you're not right for it, because you'll be right for something. They'll, and then I wanted to say to anybody who may listen, who's interested in voiceover. I mean, you're doing voiceover, you're doing a podcast. There's a lot of work out there. There's a lot. There's things to narrate. There's textbooks. There's stories that need to be told. There's medical things. If you're really good at medical jargon, there's not just commercials, there's reading literacy programs where they need people who can read. Don't deselect yourself. You never know.
Where would people find such opportunity? Is there like a backstage for this kind of a thing that you might be familiar with?
It's so funny. The industry has changed so much in the time that I've been in it that it's almost hard to recognize anymore. But if you're interested in voiceover and you're starting out, find a good class. That's because there's a technique to getting on the microphone, and you can learn it. It's not really hard. You learn it. It's trial by fire. You cringe at yourself for a little while, and then you're like, ugh. I have outtakes from my own auditions where I'm like, oh God, that was terrible. Oh geez, that was awful. And I listen back and I'm like, calm down. But their classes are good. Looking online for anything like that to get started. If you're brand new, don't rush out and get an agent. There's don't rush out and do that. Just get your feet under you first. But there's a lot of stuff. There's new stuff for free too. Go volunteer at a Reading for the Blind event.
That's a great idea.
Volunteer for programs. I mean, I've done that where you just go and you just volunteer, and then you find out what you like, what you don't like, what you're good at, what you want to work on. You might stumble into something that you really love. I stumbled into audio description. I had no idea, and I fell passionately in love with it, to where I hightailed myself to like St. Louis to go to the conventions, and me and did the American Council on the Blind, and I'm like, oh, I want to pet everybody's dog, but I can't.
Well, it's just like when I started doing the podcast. First of all, I never liked my voice, right? From a little kid, when I was a little kid, I used to have video cassette recorder. I go around and I would sing into the recorder. I hated my voice, but I would do it anyway.
But
Nowadays, I accept the voice and say, this is okay.
your voice is
And
great.
what's
It's
that?
great to listen to
Oh,
you. But I mean, but it's great to listen to you because you love what you're doing. You love what you're talking about. You're really invested and you know stuff and you want to learn stuff and like that is the secret right there, you
and
know.
that's what people should go out and do. They should do the same kind of thing. They should do this research as you just described. They should, if they want to do a podcast like I'm doing, just get out there and do it
Do it.
and get themselves used to it and then find themselves a way how they can, insert themselves into more into other things, and maybe they can actually help people, or maybe they can make money at it or whatever. But no, that's
Like the money will show
it's
up.
been a lot of fun, you know.
Yeah, just be of service to the people that you can be of
Yeah,
service to. Money will show up.
yeah,
It
right.
maybe not a lot, maybe not as much as you wish you had, maybe
Yeah,
more.
oh, yeah, I don't mean it so much that you got to make money on. I'm just
Oh,
saying,
I know. I didn't
there's
mean
a
like
lot of different opportunities when it comes to this kind of thing, and that's just one of the things that
yeah.
I've
No, I
heard.
didn't take it that
Is
way at
I
all
heard
because
that there's money. I have not seen any of it.
dude,
I have
I
no
like
idea how to get it, but
I know. Like I said, like I didn't take it that way at all because and contrary to popular strange opinion, we do not make a lot of money anymore. Like we don't. We just don't make a lot of money. Those big paydays of residual checks, they're gone. Those days are gone. So we just got to keep working, 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 working. Which is really funny because people think that y'all make a lot of money. Well, no, we don't. I'm like going, oh, we got bills. Woo, wee. But but I'm very fortunate. I'm very fortunate, but I love what you do. I love that you're doing this podcast.
I have a lot of fun with it.
Oh my God, it's so great. Oh, the episode that you sent me the other day when somebody said you're supposed to be doing, and they said, well, something came up and you jumped in and went, something suddenly came up, and I was like, yes, I was right there with you, and I think your guest didn't quite cotton onto it at the moment, but I was right there with you. I'm like, yeah, something suddenly came up, and George Glass, yeah.
There's a story that you were just telling me before about the horror, I forget the name of the movie now, but
The Passage.
the
Now that may
passage.
not end up being
And
The Passage when it comes out, but that's the working title.
but the idea about the guy being that's the EMT, and it's a great story
Oh,
about Bobby
sorry, that's
Sherman.
code 3. I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Code 3. So code 3 is the EMT, and so I'm sorry that I confused it,
Uh,
but I want to get Bobby Sherman in there somehow. So in this story about an EMT, Bobby Sherman tells a great story because that was his post music career
I
as
know.
an
I was
as an
in his fan
EMT.
club.
And he tells the story that one time he's rescuing this woman and having the hardest time with her. And she comes out of it and she looks up at him and says, oh my God, you're Bobby Sherman. And now she goes into cardiac arrest or whatever.
I, I was in the Bobby Sherman fan club when I was a kid. I was Bobby Sherman all the way. David Cassidy, whatever.
Yeah, we go back a long way.
Yeah,
And it's really nice to talk to you. And I think
do.
about you and your family quite often. In fact, I did not know that your middle name was Marie. I
You
was,
did it?
do a little research on you in the last couple of days, and of course, Therese Marie McLaughlin, named after your mother, and so that made me think of her, and so that was
Yeah.
nice, So,
Yeah.
but,
I know. I know. I remember your grandpa used to sing Mary Had a Little Lamb, but he would do the Mary Had a Little Lamb whose fleece was black as coal. And I just thought that was the funniest thing. Just the funniest thing ever. And it still is. Yeah. God,
it's good memories, good
I
memories.
know. I know.
Well, I want my audience to check out this new film, The Merry Little Christmas.
Very little bat.
What did I say?
It's a Merry Little Batman.
Merry Little Batman on Amazon Prime, featuring Therese as Poison Ivy and featuring some really very good actors
Well,
and
Luke Wilson
good
is
production.
Batman. Yeah.
Luke Wilson.
Luke Wilson is Batman and James Cromwell is Alfred. which is hilarious.
He's a
And like
very funny Alfred.
Jonas, uh, I don't know what grew that child into the immense talent that he is. I just I'm amazed. I'm amazed at that kid. He's just extraordinary. And David, of course, David Hornsby's Joker, which is mind blowing. He's fantastic.
Yeah,
He's on,
he's very good.
yeah, he's on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Is he? Yeah.
Yeah, which is also a show I audio describe, so I get to see his episodes. So weird. Mm,
Oh, that's
mm,
so cool. So
mm-hmm.
anyway, check that all out on Amazon Prime. And I want to thank you, Therese, for being on our podcast today, Retro Pop Culture Podcast, and
Thank
where
you, Miss.
everything retro keeps a beating anew if you keep it in your heart.
It
So
does.
you stay with me just a second after I sign off.
I will.
I want to thank my audience. Oh, by the way, Therese, where can people contact you?
Oh golly, I'm on the social things. I was off social media for a long time. Now I've gotten back on. I'm on Facebook. I'm not brilliant at social media, but I will be there. But I also am on Threads at McHeadley, McHeadly on Threads. I'm also on X, probably not for too much longer, but I'm there. Um, is that where I'm Instagram, McHeadley on Instagram.
Okay,
So, pop in and say hi. Um,
cool.
and if you have questions, shoot me a question. And if I don't get back to you right away, it's only because I'm completely incompetent at looking at my messages appropriately. And do not be offended. I will do my very best, but I'm really incompetent at a lot of things.
You're wonderful, and you're a good
Aw,
friend, and
you.
good energy, and we're very pleased that you're doing this work and you're here with us today. So thank you, Therese. Wish
Thank you.
everybody a very good night and in advance a very happy holidays.
Holidays.
And it's hard to believe it's coming up so soon. All right, everybody, have a good night. Thank you very much for joining us. Take care, and
Bye.
how do I turn this off? We're turning off. We can't find our way off.
Like me running the thing.
Yeah. See it somewhere. Bear with me. Sorry.
Do, 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 do,
Do,
do,
do, do.
do, 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 do.